Several mainstream media outlets have issued a correction on their reporting of statements that Hillary Clinton had made in regard to Tulsi Gabbard. Now, the statements in question were clear in my opinion. They were in a podcast, we had audio. In fact, why don't we listen to that audio right now?
I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of sites and bots and other ways of supporting her so far. And that's assuming Jill Stein will give it up, which she might not, because she's also a Russian asset.
So you just got the full context of what she said, right? About Tulsi Gabbard, and she even compared Tulsi Gabbard to Jill Stein and referred to Jill Stein as a Russian asset. Now, with that said, what was the correction? This is from the New York Times. An earlier version of this article described incorrectly an element of Hillary Clinton's recent comments about Representative Tulsi Gabbard. While Mrs. Clinton said that a Democratic presidential candidate was the favorite of the Russians, and an aide later confirmed the reference was to Miss Gabbard, Mrs. Clinton's remark about the grooming of a third-party candidate in the 2020 race was in response to a question about the Republicans' strategy, not about Russian intervention.
Do you understand what's happening here? This is one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. So Hillary Clinton people are walking back her comment about Tulsi Gabbard because it's gotten a lot of blowback. They are now doctoring history by going back and yelling at the mainstream media and saying, I didn't say Russians, I said Republicans. You heard the tape. She absolutely, positively said Russians.
Yes.
And not only that, she went on to say, as Anna pointed out, Jill Stein is also a Russian asset. Why did you say also a Russian asset if earlier you were saying that the Republicans are grooming Tulsi Gabbard and not the Russians? So it is a brazen, bald-faced lie by the Hillary Clinton team. And yet the New York Times apologizes and agrees that they described it incorrectly. Oh, that is pathetic. That is not journalism. That's saying who's in power, who's the beloved Clintons, we bow to you, right? It isn't about that they're Democrats or Republicans. These guys bow to anyone in power. And they've been bowing to the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes, the Cheneys for decade after decade. If you asked them to make that correction, they would never do it. A regular person asked them, they'd be like, no, you said Russians. We're not gonna do a correction on that. It's Hillary Clinton, we're so sorry, you are right, we were wrong. We are wrong. Political correctness, it is no longer Russian. We are now changing the word to Republicans.
No, I gotta give you more. And by the way, why does Hillary Clinton have aides? Isn't she a private citizen now? Not a private citizen, but she's not a politician. I mean, aide is weird. But anyway, let's move on to the Associated Press, because it wasn't just the New York Times. The Associated Press also issued a correction, and here's what it said. In a story October 18th about Tulsi Gabbard and Hillary Clinton, the Associated Press reported erroneously.
Erroneously, are you kidding me?
That Hillary Clinton said she believes the Russians have, quote, got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and grooming her to be the third party candidate. She was referring to Republicans, not Russians, according to an aide.
You did that, you said that you reported that in error when you reported the actual words she used? Look, if you're watching this video later, you can rewind. You could see exactly what she said. And it wasn't like Laurel or Yanni. It was clear as day. She said Russians. What part of that is Republicans? Associated Press and New York Times, you ought to be embarrassed.
Absolutely.
That's not journalism. That's craven sucking up to power. It's not being watchdogs, it's being lapdogs. Oh, I need access. What do you need access to Hillary Clinton for? Well, she might run again. Oh my God, Hillary Clinton, bow, 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 bow. So sad. And then they say we're biased. No, you're biased in favor of power. Whereas we hold people accountable.
Hillary Clinton injects so much toxicity to everything. I mean, this is toxicity. This is not something that we need right now, especially with the climate that we're dealing with in the country. Just keep your comments to herself. She said what she meant. She said what she meant. And she refuses over and over again to take responsibility for her own failures in 2016.
No, look, I don't care what they think. We're way better journalists than they are. Okay, I used to say, you calling us journalists, we're talk show hosts, that's crazy. And the NPRs of the world go, oh no, my God, they raise their voice. Oh, no. Good journalists whisper. Really? Is that something I missed in journalism class? That you're supposed to whisper?
They don't really whisper.
They whisper and they play banjos. Okay. Anyway, I'm kidding around. Okay, now on this, but on the serious point, look at it. I told people after Hillary Clinton won the primary, we're honest, we call ourselves homo progressives. I said, vote for Hillary Clinton, okay? So it's not like I'm biased against Hillary Clinton, but I can see and I can hear, and with my own ears, I heard her say Russians. I did one of the toughest interviews you'll ever see with Tulsi Gabbard. So it's not like I'm soft on Tulsi Gabbard, right? But she said Russians, and she has no evidence for that, okay? So I don't care what the New York Times and the Associated Press does with their political correctness. And I don't care that Hillary Clinton is in the so-called progressive party. I don't care about any of that. I heard Russians, it was Russians, that's a fact. And for them to say, nope, don't believe your lying ears, believe the Clintons instead, it is pathetic. It's an embarrassment to journalism.
So what do you think Clinton meant to say? And there are two options there. Russians were grooming a third-party candidate, or Republicans were grooming a third-party candidate. You can participate in this poll by going to tyt.com/Hillary, tyt.com/Hillary.
My guess is it'll be 99% to 1, and New York Times and Associated Press editors will be like, yes, no, she meant Republicans. She meant Republicans, everybody cover your ass, she meant Republicans.
Yeah.
Sad, incredibly sad. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.